let's say you're with a man for 5 years, right? Everything is perfect. Everything is nice. Best dude. Your parents love him.
Married or not married?
You're not married. He proposed to you. You say yes. You guys plan a wedding. Everything is perfect. After the wedding, it comes to the point now where he wants you to. It's the day for you to walk down the aisle. He comes to you with a piece of paper. You open it up, and it's a prenup agreement. At that point in time, do you say, "Fuck you, I'm not signing this," or you know what? I love this person. We've been together for 5 years. He's always treated me well. I'm gonna sign it.
I would close it and say we can't get married today because obviously we haven't had enough conversations
After 5
prior
years?
to this day.
Okay.
Yeah. If you hand me a prenup and this is completely out of the blue on my wedding day prior to walking down the fucking aisle, it's just like we need to get to know each other. Again, obviously.
It's almost like
fucked.
it's almost like peer
It's a
pressure.
slap, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. I'm just like, and not only that though, it's just like
It's
what
like
the fuck
if I'm
do
with you for
think
5
of
years
us?
and you propose,
Yeah.
you should tell me you
It
want a
should be a-
prenup when you're
Yeah.
proposing.
That'd be
Like you have all that
wild.
time to like.
No.
Prior to that, because you talk about babies and marriage on like the fucking third date. You know what I mean? Like, come on. At that point in time, that conversation should have already been had.
Mhm.
But if you come up to me randomly out of the blue, it's just like, no, obviously I don't know
Babies
you
and
enough.
marriage on the third
Either,
date.
and that's like honestly that would
Maybe not the third date.
Yeah, there should
Like, I don't know what
definitely.
you
But
want.
it's like
Should be
it's
a
like if
prior
you present
conversation.
Like, you know
it.
what I mean? Like blowing it out of proportion and shit.
If you
right?
present
Like, that
it
kinda stuff.
on the day you're getting married, like why wasn't that given to me when you proposed? Why wasn't that brought up
But you
beforehand?
already
It's
have
almost
the
like
point.
Yeah.
no, it's almost like that the person is like being like, oh, do this or cause a problem, and you don't want to cause a problem.
No.
Okay,
I think
like
What I was saying, you were saying if it's like your fiance dropped a fucking prenup on you on your
yeah.
like day, you're like, what is that? Like, what do you think of me? And I'm like, if you refuse to sign it, like, what am I supposed to think of you?
Yeah, but
No,
who the fuck are you to come and pull that shit on our wedding
But on the
day?
same note, it's like
You know?
you're like
It's almost like you put sneaky shit in the prenup. That's what I mean. Like if
Okay.
you're doing it on the
okay,
wedding
on
day.
the wedding day, yeah, that's super
timing.
fucked up.
It's timing.
Low key.
It's all about timing.
I got
Conversation,
it, Fabian.
you know?
Man, timing.
But okay, what I want to say is though,
okay, go ahead.
but if you think that it's scummy for you feel like
Not
you're being
scummy.
attacked or like you're like this is out of the blue and like you're like, do you think I'm a shitty person? It's like in the same sense, if I'm like, hey, will you sign this so that if you leave me, my life isn't fucked? And you're like, no, I want your life to be fucked. Like that's also just
That's not what we're saying at all. We're saying do that.
The timing of the thing.
No, we're saying do that.
Just the timing.
When
It's
they
the
ask
timing,
about
'cause, like,
prenups, I always think about that song Down in the DMs, and I'm like, that's what
Yeah.
we got a prenup.
No, we're not saying don't get a prenup. We're saying do it.
Don't do it on the wedding day.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're saying
No, I
do
agree
it
with that too.
a month
So many
before and like have a
conversations
conversation about it.
So many conversations prior
There's
to
like
have
so
that
many
talk.
people.
Like to have that talk.
Yeah, we didn't get one. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I think that whole like till death do us part puts a lot of pressure on someone, have that one person for the rest of your life. And I know, like you
That's
said,
facts.
feelings come and go. People can change how they feel about people. So relationships take work, and it all depends on, that honeymoon phase people have. And like you said, people can act different after.
Yeah.
You just got to put in that work to keep that going, I think, honestly, on both sides. And if you don't, maybe people lose feelings, maybe people lose trust. And yeah, it just comes down to if you want to put in that work to really make that last the long run, right?
If that honeymoon stage is lasting forever, then something's working,
That's what I'm
when
saying,
that
yeah.
honeymoon-
So basically, you guys are saying, okay, so let's say he proposed in February, and then you plan the wedding for September. You're okay with him presenting the prenup to you at that time?
Yeah.
Within,
With conversation.
like,
After
within
the-
a month prior to the wedding is
mean,
what I would say.
A little bit.
Right on
Yeah.
the same date is a little...
Yeah.
But
Like
not-
have a
That should definitely be a
I'm
conversation
totally
that should
not
be
against
had.
the prenup. And saying all of this
Like,
shit, like I'm
already,
not
like-
against the prenup. No, I don't give a fuck. If you feel like that, I'm gonna take half your shit when I leave you. I'm like, if I leave you at that point in time, I'm like, whatever. I don't give a shit. But I'm like, on the wedding date, honestly, it's just like I don't know you enough, honestly, at that point for me to get married to you then?
If you
You're gonna present that
sporadically
with
brought
me
up
today.
right before
Okay,
it
guys.
happens,
Yeah,
it should
honestly,
be a prior
that's
conversation.
all I'm gonna say.
If you're that deep with each other, you should not like it should not be right before. If you're having that deep of conversations and you're that deep with each other, it should not just be like a thing last minute to be brought up. If you have that deep of conversations and you're that deep with each other, it should be brought up previous to that. Like because
Like, okay, let me put this into man mindset. If you were to go, okay, if you were to go and like buy a house, okay, and someone's like, oh, you can buy this house right now, you can have it at this price, da 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 da. All you need to do is sign this contract, right? Wouldn't you want to take that contract and read all the agreements and all the little fine print and like have a conversation about like
With your lawyer.
yeah, with the person you're dealing with about this and this and this and this, right? You don't want to, and they're like, oh no, like we're doing it on this day, like this is the sale day. Like you obviously want to have take time to like conversate about it and think about it and like
It's just
have
a
that
conversation.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like why it's so
Like on my wedding note, that's 5 minutes of decision making.
it's less scary than asking to propose to someone. That's for fucking sure. I don't know. It's less of a scary conversation than that, in my opinion.
Okay.
So-
Yeah.
The
You have
priest is
something else to
like, does anyone have any objections? And you're like, actually, I have a prenup.
yeah.
I have one more question, and this question is gonna be based on the same thing, basically relationships and all that stuff, and then I'm gonna amp it up a little bit. This is the last question in terms of like relationships and prenups and all that bullshit. But anyway, I'll start with you, Orhan, and this question is for everybody. We're gonna go around the block. Do you think that people should stay in a marriage for the sake of their kids, even though they're out of love with each other?
No, I don't believe that, just due to the fact that that can breed a whole toxic environment where the kid could even be affected by that. So I think if you truly love the kid, you can sacrifice to be separated and love that kid individually. Whether that's on different, if it's a birthday, he has 2 birthdays, right? Same with Christmas. So that's where I stand on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jonas?
I've seen in both case scenarios where like there's couples that should be divorced and they stay together. I've seen them parents where they like sleep in separate rooms. They fucking hate each other, but they're just they've been sticking it out for like 18 years.
It's sad to see though, right?
Yeah, but and, like that'll fuck up the kid. But I've also seen it where when they separate, either one parent is impoverished or just like out of luck because one's going to be the main care provider, and it's like that 80% of the time that kid is fucked, like doesn't have the support that he needs, and then 20% of the time they're like, look how good this shit could be.
He doesn't
Like-
have a perfect image of love, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's less important. I think like really just like bringing up the child and being like in a healthy environment, like school is going well, there's no stress for that kid. I think both ways can go really shit, but I think in like 80% of the time, it's probably better if money is the biggest issue to stay together.
I also think this is like nature versus nurture almost in a sense. Yeah.
Cora?
I don't really have a big like point of view on it. Like I don't have a wide range of perspective because my parents have been together since high school. Like they met in high school, they're still married. Da 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 da. Like love story. Yeah. Anyways, I think that it's important that when you get married, you love each other more than you would love the kid. And it might sound like shitty, but that's how I think that you would like stay together in a sense. I think that even if you fall, because there's a difference between loving someone and being in love with someone, right?
Yeah.
So I can love someone but not be in love with them. As long as I'm loving that person, I think it's fair for me to stay with that person. It doesn't matter if I have an open relationship or like they're sleeping with other people and I'm not, or vice versa. I think that, it's more about the talks, like the dynamic of the relationship. Like if it's toxic, obviously you have to be mindful of the kids and what you're making an example of. But, for me, I'd like it to be where they have a good example of love.
No,
I agree with that.
I agree because it's
Yeah.
taking it's taking yourself out of, or it's taking the relationship away from the kids and understanding that the marriage is between you and your husband or you and your wife and the kid isn't involved.
Yeah.
And like together.
Like if it's abusive, obviously leave. Like if I was in a marriage and it's abusive, like I don't want to let my like daughter think that that's okay for some man to treat her that way.
Yeah.
or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Totally.
bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost a little difficult to judge situations because there's so many situations. Like there's so many billions upon billions of lives that are
Absolutely.
played out in different ways, and people's lives and circumstances go in different positions. It's just really hard to, because one circumstance could go this way,
I'm gonna go look at
and
that.
one circumstance could go the exact opposite way, right? Like with
You need context behind everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Absolutely. I've seen so many relationships like turn to shit. I had parents who were separated my whole fucking childhood, right? So like I didn't get to experience that like concept of love like you were saying. So it's like some people have
Neither
that
did I.
fucked concept of love,
I have
right?
the
They
opposite
don't know
concept.
what's actually right, but I've also seen people who have been together for like so many fucking years who are absolutely fucking miserable with each other and do not like each other at all. And that's, I feel like I've had friends who have had parents who are in that relationship, right? And they seem almost more miserable than like, because when you're a little kid, you're like, why aren't they together, right? But like, I think it's worse to see your parents absolutely hate each other and stay together for your sake because you feel like you're the problem in that situation.
Right.
So I think it's really about the situation, and if it's actually you're able to heal off that, yes, like I agree with what Cora said. There's a difference between like loving someone and being in love, but it's the parents' decision. It's their responsibility to realize like whether them being on and off and fighting all the time is gonna bring their child down in that situation, or if it's gonna like
dysfunctional situations grow character in people. Though,
exactly.
But I also think
if
that
it's
it's
something to work through or something to actually just cut off at that point. If it's been like that fucking long and you guys are just bickering and like putting your child in, especially like it's also the situation with the child, right? If you're putting your child in the middle of that, or if you're separating the child from that situation as well, right?
I feel like parents treat their kids like they're stupid sometimes. I don't know. It's like
Kids are
it's like
fucking
if
dumb.
that's
Like, let's
they're
be
not
real.
that dumb. They're not that dumb.
To-
They have a little
to
bit
a
of an
point,
idea.
No,
So
kids
if
are
you're
pretty fucking smart.
They
yeah,
are.
so if you're with someone and you're
We should
bickering all the
get
time,
engineers
and
and
you
shit,
like,
but I-
we all know what it's like to have parents that are arguing all the time. Like, yeah, my
Yeah.
parents have been together since high school. That doesn't mean it was perfect, but it's
Exactly.
like explain to the kid that it's what the situation is. They're not stupid. Like, just be like,
Exactly.
it's not your fault. This is what happens in relationships.
Yeah.
This is not
Exactly.
healthy. This is not an
Yeah.
example. Like, they're not
Yeah.
dumb. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
It's communication and logic that's gonna actually like make
Yeah.
that shit work out. If you guys, if the parents don't communicate with each other, if they don't communicate with their child, and they're just like leaving their child in the fucking like not knowing what's happening, that's gonna make it a lot worse for that kid. It's really dependent on how mature they're responding to that situation, in my opinion.
I would say that's to an extent though, because
Mm-hmm.
on like for toxic situations, obviously when it's an unhealthy relationship and that kind of stuff, no, you don't want the child to be curious and you don't want them to know what's going on and stuff like that, you know, or you do want them to know what's going on to an extent so they can understand that this is bad. you
Not
know?
even the
Yeah,
fact that they have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Just to
They don't have to
explain that
know.
this is not healthy.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is not their
yeah.
fault, and that is not their
Yeah.
it's not something to do with them.
Yeah, but I saw this thing online as well,
Yeah.
where it was this woman said, she's like, I had my child come up to me and she said, ask me this thing or whatever, and I looked at her and said, it's none of your business because it's between me and your dad.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with you. It's between me and your dad. Don't worry about it. You know. So I'm like, there's instances like that where it's like, no, this is something that is completely not involving you, like finances or, you know, schooling or trying to sell the house or, you know, moving to a different location, something like shit like that.
Mhm.
You know, when people are arguing as adults and everything like that, when you have a disagreement, then in situations like that, it's just like, no, it's none of your business. You can go
Absolutely.
like, you know, chill out, go color in your room. I'll let you know what's happening when everything is settled, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I agree
know.
with that, but I feel like it's dependent on the situation. It's
True.
dependent
Yeah,
on how
exactly.
extreme that situation
I mean,
is,
like
right?
everything's dependent. I think we can all agree
Yeah.
that basically everything we're asking is
Yeah.
dependent. We don't have to like
Exactly.
not to like be like,
Oh,
oh,
no,
like
no, no.
we don't
That's
have to
valid.
explain that it's dependent. Like it's everything's dependent. You know what I
This is
mean?
also
Yeah.
why people go to court. So
Yeah.
not us.
Yeah.
All right. Or some interesting takes. I have a crazy question. We're gonna amp it up a little bit. This one is mostly for the guys, and then I'll get the girls to get in afterwards. And then they'll take on it.
Okay.
Check this out.
Okay.
This is where we get canceled.
Fine. Sexist.
You take your shorty out, right? She wants to go out for the night. You take your shorty out for the night, and you're in a line. A car pulls up, 6 guys get out, and they skip the line. They skip right in front of your girl. They tell your girl is like mouthing off to them basically, saying like, you know, why did you fucking skip us, blah, 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 they're going off. You look at your girl, you're like, yo, chill. It's okay if they skip. We're almost there. She keeps going. You and one of the guys get into altercation. Before you know it, it escalates because your girl was mouthing off. You get the beat out of you. They fucked you up because it's 6 against 1. You get home. Do you still stay with that girl, or are you breaking it up right there and then?
I guess it,
You want to take this one?
I'll go first if you want to next. That's an interesting question. Yeah, no, I don't know if I would break up. Well, it depends how beat I got back. Like, how bad I got beat. Did I go to the hospital or anything? I don't know. But I probably wouldn't stay with her. But I think it's one of those things I would set a boundary with her, too. It's like, why are you mouthing off? Like, let me talk to me if you have a problem, and I'll decide what to do type thing. Because, like, when you're out, as a boyfriend especially, I'm sure you probably feel this, you feel this. You're kind of in charge of, like, protecting your girl, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say she can make decisions, but it's something you got to talk about together.
Mm-hmm.
And if she does something by herself, it's not much you can do about that at that point, right? So set your boundary. Let her know what situations she can talk and can't talk, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But that sounds bad to say, too, because that sounds controlling, right? So I don't want to sound controlling, but at the same time, it's all about communication at the end of the day. And if you haven't communicated that and she pulls that, then you can't think too much of that, honestly. But if you've communicated it and she's done that, I would definitely break up with her.
So I feel like, in my experience, I've explained that before. Like, yo, if some 6'6" dude like you comes up to me and my girl is chirping you, I'm gonna tell her to shut the fuck up because I don't want to throw hands with you, bro. You know what I'm saying? So like, in that case, I would absolutely be like, yo, this is just like dangerous, and that was just stupid of you to do.
If you end up in the hospital, it's just because you're lacking skill.
Okay, wait.
You gotta make sure you don't end up in the hospital.
Yeah. Okay.
I fight though, like against 6 dudes. I don't care how good you are at fighting. It could be 6 midgets against Kyle, and he's getting his shit
wild up in the bars sometimes, you know, especially like, I don't know, like Northern Manitoba used to be a little bit wild. And,
but have you fought 6 dudes before?
I've fought 3 dudes on a couple different occasions.
Okay, but that's because you got 20-inch arms. For regular civilians, like,
So you're staying with her, you're saying, because you're going to fuck the 6 dudes
Okay,
up.
wait.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do my best, but I ain't gonna end up in the hospital. That's for sure.
you're gonna die, bro. Like,
Okay, wait. Solution. Okay. Solution. Skip in front of them.
The fuck are they gonna
Just
do?
hop out of there.
Obviously, you have
Just
follow her.
clubs
Just
in
follow her.
big fucking cities.
I don't give a fuck. Okay. If it's just me and you,
Yeah.
I'm skipping in front of them. They're gonna notice. No.
Can I say one more thing?
Get beat up for skipping in front of them, or get beat up for bitching behind them.